motorway cameras are not facing the road. The government has cancelled the building of new smart motorways over safety concerns and cost fears. On a smart motorway, there is no hard shoulder. People watching camera footage are supposed to be alerted when a car breaks down in the lane. But campaigners say that smart motorways are to blame for 79 deaths. I'm convinced that there's more deaths than that to blame. I'm joined now by Claire Mercer from the Smart Motorways Kill campaign. Claire, thank you very much for joining me. Now, Claire's husband, Jason, was sadly killed on a smart motorway in 2019. Claire, we've had an issue of sometimes the cameras steaming up, and so they have to be pointed at the sun for them to demist. In the meantime, anything can be unfolding on the smart motorway below. We are now just seeing that a lot of them are just genuinely not actually looking at the motorway at all. What do you make of this?
It just shows how seriously, or not seriously, National Highways are taking the issue. This has been going... I've been campaigning over 4 years now, and it's just showing that they're just not taking the problem seriously at all. And the ongoing issues with cameras steaming up, having to be pointed different ways or circulating to point in the wrong direction and not being repaired to be able to point back is something that I've been getting emails about for 4 years now, and it's just ongoing. It's still the case at the junction where Jason was killed 4 years ago. A quarter of the equipment there is still not working.
At the very junction where your husband sadly died, was killed, you're telling me that they have actually still not sorted out the camera equipment there?
Yes, and 2 years after he died, there was an expose done in one of the large papers showing that a quarter of the equipment was still not working, and that some of that had been not working at the time of his accident. And then years later, another year later, it was shown that a quarter of all equipment across the entire network was not working. And even now, it's still not working. And I get email after email from frustrated control room operators saying, we report this time and time again. You know, we don't want to sit there watching near misses and big collisions happen time after time. It's incredibly upsetting and stressful for them. And they report it, and it just nothing ever gets done because the technology is not up for it, and National Highways is not prepared to spend the money that's required to maintain such an army of equipment across the entire country's road network that will need as much maintenance as this does.
I think it is a depressing state of affairs that they possibly have decided that it will be cheaper for them to pay compensation to the families of relatives who die as a result of their faulty equipment than it will be to actually make sure that nobody dies by keeping the equipment up to date and working. Is that the sad reality for you, do you think?
Well, it's even cheaper for them because they don't pay the compensation. In a car accident, National Highways have never paid me any compensation. In a car incident, all the drivers have to be insured. We enforce that, or we try to enforce that, don't we? That all our drivers have insurance. And that is why I have always felt that they arrest and charge one of the drivers, or a driver, in these incidents. They did it against my express wishes in Jason and Alexandru's case. They prosecuted the driver, and I stood in court and I said I did not want him prosecuted or jailed. But they pushed through, because if you don't if you don't blame the driver, you've only got the road to blame, haven't you? So they pushed through with a prosecution, and then that person's insurance company has to pay, not National Highways.
Look, we are a bit pressed for time, Claire, but I just want to ask you to emphasise quickly for us, if you can, what happened with your husband, if that's OK?
Yeah, it was a minor bump. It should have only ever been that, but because they couldn't get their vehicles out of the live running lane because of the crash barrier, and they couldn't get over the crash barrier because of a 30-foot drop, they ended up trapped in the road, and they got hit by a lorry because lorries can't manoeuvre as quickly as a Ford Fiesta.
Oh, Greek. Look, Claire, thank you very much for coming on, and, you know, obviously sorry to have to relive that for you, but I think this is something that it's only by listening to stories like that we can highlight the absolute farce that is taking place on Britain's motorways. And it is motorists suffering the whole way through. It's people who are stranded and sadly the worst case scenario happens, but it is also the people who then do end up hitting people who might not have had to have gone through that if actually the system was working. I mean, everyone's a loser, right? But, Claire, thank you very much. It's great to have you on, and all the best. Take care. It's Claire Mercer there, who's from Smart Motorways Kill campaign, and certainly, in the case of her husband, they absolutely did. Lots more still to come between now and 5 o'clock, with the government still failing to get a grip on the migrant crisis.